I'm Lala.
And I'm Kalma. And this is Nuclear. In Interstellar, a group of astronauts travel deep into the universe to find another planet where the human race can survive. In the movie, the main character, Cooper, goes to the planet named Man, named after the astronauts who recently discovered it. On Man, there are frozen clouds in the sky that almost give a mirror effect as the terrain on the ground. As seen in the movie Interstellar, this will float the question, do frozen clouds exist? The Mythbusters squad would like to test and see if the special effect and theme is true.
First, we would have to answer some questions to find out some detail before we could bust this myth. Our observations as a group, we saw that frozen clouds exist in the movie Interstellar. Our hypothesis: if density of the cloud is lighter than the atmosphere, then the frozen cloud could form. Now let's answer some questions about frozen clouds. Well, comma, what are clouds made of?
Well, clouds on Earth are floating and visible mass of water. They are in vapor form but are still light enough to float.
Why don't they freeze when they're in the air? Don't they freeze at minus 54 degrees Celsius?
The clouds on Earth do not freeze at the temperature because they are not as dense and as heavy as a mass. They would fall as snow before they freeze as a whole.
But could frozen clouds be possible at all, like on man's planet?
If the clouds were lighter than the atmosphere, then yes, frozen clouds could be possible. On Earth, the clouds would fall and turn to hail or snow. It could be possible on Earth in the mesosphere, where it is very cold. Even with that, it's still a long shot. But on Man, the atmosphere would have to be lighter.
This experiment is to help us better understand the density of ice. We took an ice cube and used the water displacement method to find the density. Throughout the experiment, we took constant notes on how thick the density of ice really is. Through the close precautions, we found that our trials were both accurate and precise. From the experiment, we can infer that the only way for something to float is if it is lighter than the atmosphere it is in. To conduct the experiment, we used a scale, a pencil, a thermometer, a graduated cylinder, a big graduated cylinder, a beaker, and goggles. First found the volume of the amount of water, then we made sure the temperature was at 6 degrees Celsius at its highest.
We tried our best to mimic the environment in which a frozen cloud could exist.
We then took measurements on the density of water in the graduated cylinder. From here we recorded the initial volume of the water. Next we recorded the mass of the ice cube and then placed it into the water. The difference between the final and the initial volume was the overall volume of the ice cube. We then took the mass and divided it by the volume and created the density. We then found the density of an ice cube, the measurements being 0.9286, 1.002, 1.033 grams per cubic milliliter. From this, we can infer that frozen clouds cannot exist on Earth due to the density. Our data shows that the ice is less dense than the water it is in. The ice floats because the water has a higher density than the ice. This tells us that for there to be a cloud made of ice on the atmosphere, the density must be more than the object that it floats in. Only then could ice float. So first, to test this experiment, we are going to have to get the density of the atmosphere. Of course, we don't have knowledge about man's atmosphere, but we are going to have to use air. For Earth, the density of air is 1.225 kilograms per cubic meter. the density of a cloud is 0.5 grams per cubic meter. Therefore, the cloud will float in the atmosphere like Earth. Other factors to include on the planet Man are that there is 80% less gravity. The air atmosphere is mostly ammonia. Frozen clouds are most likely made of the ammonia, and the freezing point of pure ammonia is 108 degrees Celsius. For frozen clouds to happen on Earth, they would have to be under the correct conditions. First of all the atmosphere must be less dense than the density of the frozen cloud. Second of all, the temperature must be able to freeze water all at once, making it a cloud. The only place for this to happen on Earth is the mesosphere. The mesosphere is usually negative 90 degrees Celsius, perfect for freezing water, and the low density of it will enable the frozen clouds to float. In conclusion, although it is a long shot for frozen clouds to exist on Earth how it does on man's planet, they are able to exist under the right conditions. Throughout the observable universe, there are 1 times 10 to the 24th power of planets. With all those planets, there is no doubt in our minds that the planet with frozen clouds exists just like the one we've observed in the movie Interstellar. Thanks for watching our Mythbusters video.